Hello everyone, welcome to another interesting episode of Curious Race Show. So in this episode, we are going to discuss how our brain reacts while watching porn. Yes, you heard that right. So without any further ado, let's get started. So that's what my channel is about, right? I create all kinds of cool, interesting stuff, and that's what you are curious about. So ultimately, this content is demanded by you, and hereby it is presented for you. Let me warn you, the stuff, the facts, and the perception that I am going to give you right now is going to completely change the way you looked at pornography. I mean, it is going to completely change everything. Like, you won't see it like you used to do it. So if you still have any doubts, I'm warning you, don't continue this video. If you're doing it, continue at your own risk. Now let me give you one insane fact. Did you know almost 5,824,699,200 hours of porn has already been watched in the year 2019 on a single website. And also 98% of men and almost 70% women already watch porn on a regular basis. So guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the question is, why do people watch porn so much, and what is actually the big deal behind it? The reason is that pornography is directly related to one of the most strongest and the most innate characteristic that humans have, which is to have intercourse. Intercourse which is also related to pleasure and also to pass off our genes to the future generation. And this is something like intercourse and copulation, it is something that almost every other organism has on this earth. And because of this only the survival of all the species takes place. But since we humans, we are so cognitively and expressively matured that we have our own weird ways to express ourselves. Also, back in the day, like when we were living in caves, when industrialization didn't take place, when technology didn't come, the mere fact of having a sexual partner or having an intercourse was an act of lot of competition. Like, you had to really prove yourself out there to be able to achieve something like that. So when you actually achieve something like that, that actually connected with your brain with the most rewarding thing you could ever have. So you get it right, the mere act of copulation is one of the most rewarding things the brain could ever have. Like, it is so much deeply ingrained within our brain. So the question is that what changed after all? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the internet came, the technology came. So hear out something. So something like which was so difficult to achieve in those times, right now it is so easily to achieve through technology, through smartphone and your computer. So the transition between all of these two states is too much short amount of time for our brain to process and to differentiate. So the bottom line is that our brain kinds of treats it as the same way of getting pleasure by watching porn or to actually having that real state of activity. Now there are certain chemicals in brain which decide how we feel about certain things. One of those chemicals is dopamine. It is a hormone and a neurotransmitter which is responsible for the feel-good activity in our brain. It is secreted whenever we do any kind of activity which we feel good about. So dopamine is released whenever you're doing any activity which you love. That activity can be, working out, it can be cooking, it can be hiking, or it can be any activity which you actually like. But having any kind of sexual activity is one of the most rewarding things that your brain can ever register. So dopamine is like secreted most abundantly. Also, dopamine is highly released when we are ingesting some certain kinds of drugs. So in that particular case, there is so much dopamine secretion that when we stop using those drugs, our brain it cannot process that how it can manage this lack of dopamine. So this is the reason that people become addicted to certain kinds of drugs. And the same logic goes to pornography addiction as well. So whenever we become addicted to something, we kind of get desensitized to it and then start craving more of it. So it's the same for the logic behind drugs and also the logic behind pornography. The more you watch it, the more you ingest those information, the more you crave for it, because time by time your brain kinds of get desensitized to that dopamine level and now it wants more of it. So let me give you one perception which will completely change the way you will look at pornography now. From this moment, you will never see it the way as you used to be. So in that moment when you are watching a particular movie, and if you are deriving pleasure out of it, your brain registers itself to be equally involved in that movie. See, this is a kind of activity that is generally done between two individuals. Exceptions may be there, but two individuals are there. But when you are watching a particular movie, so suppose if you are watching a movie where two individuals are involved, and if you're trying to derive pleasure out of it, your brain actually registers itself to be a threesome. Yes, because understand, because generally you are actually pleasuring yourself by watching two other individuals in the act. So if you are watching that, then your brain registers itself as a threesome. So similarly, if you are watching a threesome, your brain registers it as foursome. And if you are watching a foursome, then... So did you really get what I just said? It is really true if you think about it. If you did not understand, rewind it back, watch it again, and then imagine that what I just said is so true. And apart of all of these things, right, you should also know that the way the things are shown in a particular pornographic film are far from reality. Like, this is one of the major causes of so much distance in certain relationships and so much dissatisfaction, because people now have a certain level of expectation that how the actual act would turn out to be rather than what it actually is. So guys, I really hope that you are understanding what I'm trying to say. Well, deriving pleasure out of this particular thing is nothing but your brain playing chemical warfare inside you. It is not something real. So now it's up to you to invest your time and energy, which is something realistic. Well, that's it for today's episode, guys. I really hope that you liked today's video. Well, if you didn't like, I'm sure this was hell lot of interesting. So if you want me to make more interesting videos like this, which will blow your perception, don't forget to follow me right now, to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, because in the future I will be creating more awesome content like this. So without any further ado, bye bye.